I remember Seattle as a city of perpetual possibility, where the rain just made the ideas inside your head feel more vivid, more urgent. I was Mark, then, a software engineer, 28, fueled by espresso and a belief that I could change the world, even a tiny corner of it. My startup idea was called Chronos, a revolutionary productivity app designed to subtly recalibrate your relationship with time, making every moment feel intentional. It wasn't just a calendar, it was a philosophy, coded into an intuitive interface. I poured my soul into it, those late nights in my tiny apartment, the glow of the screen reflecting in my tired but hopeful eyes. Every line of code was a heartbeat, every feature a dream brought to life. Then Amelia walked into that co-working space, all sharp angles and effortless charisma, like a perfectly rendered CEO from a tech magazine. She was an executive, a mover and shaker in the Seattle scene, known for her Midas touch. I'd seen her speak at conferences, admired her from afar, but never imagined she'd ever spare a glance for someone like me, still building my empire one pixel at a time. She stopped by my desk, her presence filling the air with a faint scent of something expensive and confident. She'd apparently heard whispers about Chronos, about my audacious vision. Her eyes, a striking intelligent gray, seemed to see right through my nervous exterior to the core of my ambition. She said my idea was brilliant, truly innovative, and she wanted to help. Her interest felt like a validation, a sudden gust of wind beneath my half-built wings. We started meeting, first for coffee, then dinners that stretched into late nights. She had a way of listening that made me feel like the most interesting man in the room, absorbing every detail of Chronos, every challenge, every wild dream I had for its future. I'd find myself talking for hours, sharing not just the technical specifications but the deeply personal reasons behind my drive, the anxieties, the moments of self-doubt that plagued me when the code wouldn't compile just right. She seemed to understand, nodding empathetically, offering insights that felt like genuine mentorship, a guiding hand in the chaotic landscape of startup life. Our conversations began to stray beyond business, blurring the lines into something more intimate, more personal. She was smart, funny, and she made me feel seen, truly seen, for the first time in a long time. It was exhilarating, intoxicating even. I felt like I'd found not just a mentor, but a kindred spirit, someone who believed in me as fiercely as I believed in Chronos. The city outside, with its endless rain and misty horizons, seemed to shimmer with a new, vibrant promise. Hope, pure and undiluted, tasted like the future. Amelia's involvement deepened with every passing week. She wasn't just a mentor anymore. She was an integral part of my world, personal and professional. She'd bring her laptop to my apartment, working beside me, her focused hum a comforting presence in the quiet nights. We'd brainstorm, her ideas sparking off mine, making Chronos feel even more robust, more ready for the world. But amidst the intense collaboration, small things began to prick at the edges of my burgeoning trust. She'd suggest recording our brainstorming sessions, claiming it was for archival purposes or to capture every brilliant thought. I, naive and caught in the whirlwind of her attention, agreed without hesitation. She'd set up her phone or a small voice recorder, always making sure it was within earshot, capturing not just the business talk, but the casual, unguarded banter, the moments when I'd confess a lingering insecurity about my coding skills or a fear that Chronos wasn't good enough. I remember one particularly vulnerable evening. We were discussing a critical bug, and the pressure had been immense. I'd confessed to her how much I struggled with imposter syndrome, how sometimes I felt like a fraud, just waiting to be exposed. She'd held my hand, looked into my eyes with what seemed like genuine concern, telling me I was brilliant, that everyone had doubts. She assured me those feelings were normal, a sign of true genius pushing boundaries. I believed her, felt a profound relief that someone so successful could understand my inner turmoil. And the recorder, I dimly noted, was still silently doing its work on the coffee table. There were other instances. She'd ask oddly specific questions about my past failures, my financial struggles before Chronos, my family history of anxiety. Each time, she framed it as needing to understand the whole person behind the product to build a compelling narrative for investors. My gut would give a tiny, almost imperceptible twitch a fleeting sensation of unease, but I'd quickly dismiss it. She was Amelia, my champion, my confidant. It was just stress, I told myself, the paranoia that came with being so close to a breakthrough. Why would I doubt her? She was pushing me towards launch, connecting me with powerful figures, making my dream feel tangible. The final pieces were falling into place, a massive investor meeting scheduled, a buzz building around Chronos. I was too excited, too caught up in the momentum she'd helped create, to truly acknowledge the faint, dissonant notes in our perfect harmony. The investor meeting was set for a Friday. The entire week leading up to it, Amelia had been a whirlwind of activity, ostensibly polishing our pitch, arranging last-minute details. My excitement was barely containable. This was it, the culmination of years of work. Then, the Thursday before, it all imploded. It started with an email, an anonymous tip, linking to an online forum, a dark corner of the internet usually reserved for gossip and spite. The link led to a thread titled Chronos, the fraudulent dream. And there it was. Not just my pitch deck, my carefully guarded algorithms, but something far more insidious. Audio clips, snippets of my most vulnerable moments, my deepest fears, my struggles with anxiety, my confessions of imposter syndrome, my financial worries, all carefully edited and taken completely out of context. The voice was unmistakably mine, stripped bare, raw, sounding weak, desperate, completely unstable. The forum commentary beneath was a feeding frenzy. Another tech bro faking it till he makes it. Mental breakdown waiting to happen. Who'd trust this guy with their data? My heart hammered against my ribs, a trapped bird desperate to escape. I scrolled further, my fingers numb. There were links to mock-ups of a competing product, strikingly similar to Chronos, but with a different name, a different founder. Amelia's name. A press release, dated for the following week, announcing her new, groundbreaking productivity app. The betrayal hit me with the force of a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. Every shared secret, every moment of trust, every late-night confession had been meticulously recorded, weaponized. She hadn't been helping me build my dream. She'd been harvesting it, meticulously dismantling my credibility to construct her own empire from the ashes of mine. My phone rang, an investor canceling, then another. The messages piled up, each one a fresh stab. My world, which had been so full of light and future, suddenly plunged into an abyss. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The city outside, once a beacon of possibility, now felt like a cage, every raindrop a tear of shame. I was exposed, humiliated, utterly devastated. My dream wasn't just stolen. It had been used to publicly flame me alive. The days and weeks that followed blurred into a suffocating haze of disbelief and despair. My apartment, once a haven of creative energy, became a tomb. I barely ate, barely slept, the taste of ashes perpetually in my mouth. Legal action was a joke. Amelia, with her connections and resources, had outmaneuvered me at every turn. Her lawyers buried mine in paperwork, dismissing my claims as the ravings of a disgruntled, emotionally unstable individual, citing my own recorded words against me. The press, initially curious, quickly lost interest in the failed startup story when Amelia's sleek, well-funded launch dominated the tech news. She was celebrated, I was forgotten, or worse, ridiculed. Friends, or those I thought were friends, evaporated. No one wants to be associated with public failure, especially one tainted with accusations of mental instability. I felt utterly alone, adrift in an ocean of shame and resentment. There were dark thoughts, fleeting but chilling, of how easy it would be to just stop, to disappear. One dreary Seattle afternoon, as I sat staring at the rain-streaked window, an empty coffee cup beside me, something inside me snapped. Not in despair, but in defiance. I caught my reflection in the glass, gaunt, hollow-eyed, a shadow of the man I once was. Was this it? Was this how my story ended? Reduced to a footnote in someone else's success, a victim of my own misplaced trust? A burning ember, tiny but insistent, ignited in my chest. No, this wasn't me. I might have been broken, but I wasn't gone. Amelia had stolen my company, my reputation, but she couldn't steal my spirit, not if I refused to let her. The thought was a fragile lifeline, but I clung to it. Seattle had become a poison well. Every street, every coffee shop, every face held a memory of hope turned to ash. I needed to get out, to truly disappear, not just from the tech scene, but from the entire landscape of my past. I needed space, silence, a place where Amelia's shadow couldn't reach, where the echo of my humiliation wouldn't reverberate through every conversation. I looked at a map, my finger tracing a path far, far away, across mountains and plains, to a place I'd only ever seen in old movies. Montana. The idea felt wild, reckless, and utterly right. I sold what little I had, packed a single duffel bag, and without a backward glance, I drove east, the relentless rain of Seattle slowly giving way to the vast, indifferent skies of the American West. Every mile was an exhale, a slow, agonizing shedding of the skin I no longer recognized. The drive was endless, a blur of highway and changing landscapes. Seattle's green intensity faded into the golden browns of eastern Washington, then the stark grandeur of the Rockies, finally spilling out into the immense, silent expanse of rural Montana. I barely registered the small town when I pulled into it, just a cluster of buildings dwarfed by the immense sky and distant mountains. It was nothing like Seattle. No glittering tech campuses, no artisanal coffee shops, just a gas station, a diner, and a dusty garage called Sawyer's Auto. My hands, once accustomed to the soft click of a keyboard, now felt clumsy, useless. I walked in, asked for work, any work. Sawyer, a grizzled man with kind eyes and hands stained permanently with grease, looked me up and down. He probably saw the lost look in my eyes, the ghost of something broken. He offered me a broom. Sweeping floors, sorting rusty tools, learning to change oil. It was a world away from algorithms and user interfaces. The rhythm was slow, deliberate, punishingly physical. My muscles ached in ways I hadn't known possible. My hands developed calluses. It was a baptism by fire, a forced detoxification from the hyperstimulated world I'd left behind. Initially, I just needed to survive, to put food on the table, to keep moving. But slowly, imperceptibly, something shifted. I watched Sawyer meticulously dismantle an engine, each part a puzzle piece with a specific purpose. There was a quiet satisfaction in understanding the mechanics, in the tangible outcome of your efforts. He'd patiently explain things, point out a worn gasket, teach me how to diagnose a misfire. My analytical mind, once trained on abstract code, found a new challenge in the tangible world of internal combustion engines. There was an honesty to it. A car either ran or it didn't. No hidden agendas, no carefully crafted betrayals. Just physics and hard work. With each rusted bolt I loosened, each corroded wire I replaced, I felt a tiny piece of my own brokenness begin to mend. The smell of oil and gasoline replaced the scent of expensive perfume. The vast, silent Montana landscape, punctuated by the occasional distant low of cattle or the whisper of wind through the tall grass, offered a balm to my raw nerves. I was starting to breathe again, deeply, truly, for the first time in what felt like forever. Months bled into a year, then two. The calluses on my hands became permanent, the lines around my eyes softened, etched now by sun and honest effort rather than sleepless anxiety. Sawyer, sensing something in me, something beyond the usual runaway or drifter, had taken me under his wing. He saw not a disgraced software engineer, but a man who was good with his hands, who had a meticulous eye for detail and a stubborn refusal to give up. He taught me the art of restoration, taking a beat-up classic, a rusted shell, and breathing new life into it. There was a profound therapy in the process. Each dent I hammered out, each patch of rust I sanded away, felt like I was working on myself. The methodical nature of it, the quiet focus required, kept the old demons at bay. I learned to distinguish between different engine sounds, to feel the subtle vibrations of a well-tuned machine, to sculpt metal with a finesse I never knew I possessed. The satisfaction of seeing a gleaming '68 Mustang roll out of the garage, a masterpiece reborn from neglect, was a different kind of triumph, one measured not in venture capital rounds, but in the honest joy of creation. My past in Seattle felt like a faded nightmare, a story told about someone else. The pain still lingered, a phantom ache in my chest, but it no longer consumed me. I had found a new community here, a small circle of genuine, unpretentious people who knew nothing of my tech past and didn't care. They knew me as Mark, the quiet mechanic who could fix anything with an engine, who treated old cars with reverence. I found solace in the vast, unblemished sky, the clean air, the rhythmic cycle of the seasons. I hiked the trails, learned to fish the mountain streams, and slowly, painstakingly, I learned to trust myself again. Trust my instincts, my judgment, my ability to build something real and lasting, even if it was just a perfectly restored carburetor. The anger at Amelia had not vanished entirely, but it had calcified, becoming a distant, academic understanding of human nature, a hard-won lesson rather than a festering wound. This new life, this simpler, dirtier, more honest existence, was my liberation. It's been 5 years now since I left Seattle. 5 years since I traded code for Chrome, algorithms for actual grit. Sawyer officially retired last year, and I took over the garage. It's called Mark's Restoration, now a small, honest shop nestled against the backdrop of the Montana mountains. We specialize in vintage cars, breathing new life into old beauties, and I'm good at it. More than good, I'm passionate. The scent of oil, gasoline, and polishing compound is my perfume. My days are filled with the satisfying clink of tools, the purr of a restored engine, the genuine smiles of customers picking up their beloved vehicles. Sometimes, a stray news article pops up on an old laptop I keep for part searches. Amelia's name still appears, usually in headlines about new funding rounds, industry awards, or her latest philanthropic venture. Chronos, or whatever she calls her iteration of it, is a massive success. The sting, when I see her name, is dull now, a distant echo rather than a sharp blade. It's like looking at a scar. I remember the wound, the agony, but the pain itself is gone. She stole my first dream, yes, and she broke my trust in a way I doubt I'll ever fully recover from. But she also, inadvertently, gave me something invaluable, a profound understanding of what truly matters. Not fame, not fortune measured in digits on a screen, but integrity, the satisfaction of honest work, and genuine connection with people who see you for who you are, not for what you can offer them. I stand often at the edge of my property, watching the sun set over the peaks, painting the sky in fiery oranges and soft purples. The air is clean, the silence profound. I haven't forgotten the lessons of betrayal, the sharp, bitter taste of being used. It's a part of my story now, a chapter that shaped the man I've become. But it doesn't define me. I am Mark, the mechanic, the restorer, the man who found his own version of success not in the glittering towers of tech, but in the quiet, expansive heart of Montana. There's a quiet happiness in that, a bittersweet peace that feels hard-earned and profoundly real. My hands are rough, my clothes often stained, but my soul feels cleaner, more whole, than it ever did in that rain-swept city. I wouldn't trade it for anything.